You know, we talk a lot about the energy transition, but what does it actually take to make it real? Not just a plan on paper, but steel in the water. Well, today we're digging into a 2.1 billion euro answer to that very question, and it says a lot about where Europe's energy future is headed.
Okay, so it all kicks off with this number, 2.1 billion euros. That's the headline figure from a huge announcement by the energy giant TotalEnergies. I mean, that is just a staggering amount of capital to commit.
And that's the big question, right? When you see a number with that many zeros, you can't help but wonder, where is all that cash actually going? What's it going to build? And maybe more importantly, why is this happening right now?
So here's the deal. What we're actually talking about is the formal green light for a massive offshore wind project in the North Sea. TotalEnergies just awarded the major construction contracts, basically committing that 2.1 billion euros and saying, all right, let's get this thing built.
And you know, this is the really crucial part. It's one thing to announce a project, right? That's just talk. But actually awarding the contracts for the turbines, the installation ships, the massive cables, that's the moment it stops being a blueprint and starts becoming a reality. It's the point where the project truly comes to life.
Okay, so let's get into the nuts and bolts. What exactly is this mountain of cash going to build out there in the middle of the North Sea?
The raw power output is going to be 1.5 gigawatts. Now, I know gigawatt is one of those technical terms that can sound a bit abstract, but to put it in perspective, just 1 gigawatt can power a whole medium-sized city. So yeah, we're talking about a truly immense amount of energy here. And if you want to know what that means for people, well, it translates to enough clean, renewable electricity to power more than 1 million homes. 1 million! That really drives home the kind of impact just one of these projects can have.
And the construction itself? It's just mind-boggling. We're talking about over 100 gigantic offshore wind turbines. Each one is an engineering marvel. But that's not all. You've got the massive undersea cables to get the power to land, plus all the super complex foundations and heavy lift ship operations to put it all together. It's a huge puzzle. And get this isn't some pie-in-the-sky project for 10 years down the road. Nope. With these contracts signed, the offshore installation work is set to kick off later this year. And by 2027, the farm will start feeding power into the grid. Things are moving, and they're moving fast. Now, a check for 2 billion euros doesn't just build a wind farm. It sends a massive ripple effect through the entire economy. It's like flipping a switch that activates a whole industrial supply chain.
Think about it like dominoes falling. First, the contracts get signed, locking in the money. Boom. That immediately wakes up fabrication yards all over Europe that start cranking out these massive components. Then, the really specialized ships, the giant installation vessels, the cable layers, they all get booked up and start moving into position.
And that's something you really got to understand about offshore wind. It is just incredibly expensive and logistically insane. You can't just wake up one day and say, hey, let's build a wind farm. These special ships, the factory slots, you have to book that stuff years ahead of time. It's a massive, long-term commitment.
Okay, so we've covered the what and how. Now let's zoom out a bit and talk about the why. What's the big strategic play here? Not just for the company, but for all of Europe.
It's really a powerful two-for-one deal. On one side, you have TotalEnergies. For them, this is a huge move to pivot away from their traditional oil and gas business and really bulk up their renewables division. And then for Europe, well, adding 1.5 gigawatts of clean, homegrown power makes the whole grid more stable and means less reliance on importing fossil fuels from elsewhere. It's a win-win. And this project really cements the North Sea's status as the world's premier workshop for offshore wind. I mean, with its crazy strong winds and pretty shallow waters, it's become the go-to place where the energy transition is literally being built, piece by massive piece, with real money and some seriously impressive engineering. All of which brings us to the final, and honestly, the most important point of this whole thing. This isn't just about one more power plant. This is about crossing a line, a really critical threshold.
Yeah, let's be super clear here. This is way more than just another corporate press release. This signals something permanent.
It signals what experts call an inflection point. And in the world of giant infrastructure projects, that's everything. That is the moment of truth. It's the point where a project goes from being a maybe to a definitely. It becomes inevitable. In fact, the source material we're looking at today nails it. It calls this the inflection point, where projects become irreversible. Think about that. Irreversible. This is the point of no return.
So what does irreversible actually mean here? Well, it means the financing is legally locked down. The suppliers have signed on the dotted line, with huge penalties if they back out. Those rare, expensive ships are booked solid. The whole thing has officially shifted from paperwork to physical, real-world delivery. The gears are in motion, and there's no going back.
So, this 2.1 billion euro bet has just hammered another irreversible fact onto the energy map. And it really gets you thinking, right? As more and more of these massive projects cross their own point of no return, what's the next big irreversible step that's going to lock in our energy future for good?